Hey guys, welcome to part 10 of this Godot beginner tutorial series where we are building an endless runner game in Godot engine. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do subscribe now and hit that notification bell to get updates of new tutorials in future. So in this tutorial we're going to be working with the GUI or UI elements in Godot engine, and we are also going to start expanding on our barrel scene or script. So what we want to do, first of all, just want to show you this, is that I created this fonts folder in assets, and I went and downloaded some fonts from Google Fonts. So I just got this Roboto, the first font on Google Fonts, and I've just unzipped it into this fonts folder. So we use this to just make nicer fonts in our GUI, and I will show you what that looks like in a little bit. So let's first just expand on our effect damage body entered portion of our script here. So what do we want to do? When the player dies, we want our player to be destroyed and our barrel as well. So very simply, what we'll do here instead is we'll call queueFree to delete our barrel from our scene when our player touches it. And also we need to emit a signal to tell our player that it's been killed. So signals.connect, and we will connect it to the kill player signal. Or actually not, we're not connecting, we're emitting the signal here, and we will be connecting it on our player. So in our player we'll go ahead and we will connect it. So we'll just grab this same code here, paste it, and instead of reward player we are killing the player, and we will define a kill player method in this script. So we go down and we'll just create a very basic kill player function. So function kill player, and we will simply just remove the player when we get this signal. Let's run that and then you'll see what this actually does. So let's see when the player actually touches a barrel. So first to our bones, so that's a score, and if it touches a barrel, both get deleted from the scene and both are basically destroyed. So that's the basics of killing the player, and let's now look at the score UI. So if you remember correctly, in the beginning of this tutorial series we created these two UI scenes, so scenes UI, and we had a score and a game over UI scene. So for the score UI, we want to go ahead and just create a basic little UI to display our score. So here we'll go and change this type to a control, which is a type of canvas item. So it's all to do with UI. So we'll change this to a control. And then what we'll do is we'll just resize this thing up to cover the full canvas or scene like that, and then we'll right click, add child node, and we'll add a rich text label. We'll start off with text of 0, and we'll also just bring this thing up like this, or actually we want to bring it down because we want to move it to the center of our screen, so we'll do something like this. So you'll see now if you zoom in, there's this very tiny little 0 in our scene. We are now going to improve this because you'll see that this is a pixelated font. And just to prove that to you, if I had to resize this, you'll see that it looks pretty bad. So I'm going to undo that. We're going to use one of our actual fonts now. So what we'll do is just zoom in so we can see it properly. And then what we'll do is we'll come over here to the right with rich text label selected, and we'll go down to custom fonts, and we'll just take normal font, check that box, go over here and create new dynamic font, click on that, and then we need to actually create this font. So go to font and go to new dynamic font, click on this, and you'll see this font path. So you can click that little folder, go over to assets, go over to fonts and select your font. So now you can see we don't actually see our font anymore. So that's probably because the size is now too small. So we're going to change this to something like 120. And I did see that sometimes what happens is if you don't resize this box, your font doesn't render. So it's maybe, I don't know if that's a bug in Godot, but play around with this and you'll see that it will update. Resize this to more or less something like this, and then bring it to somewhere close to the center of the screen. So something like that. You can save that off. So let's bring this into the game now. So very simply drag this up onto the game node like that. And I see there's a scroll bar here, which we don't want. So let's go back up here. Make sure that this is big enough to hold our font. And now if we go to game, there's no scroll bar like that. Okay, so leave it like that for now. And then we are going to go and expand on this by creating a signal which will be triggered, and that was the update score signal we created earlier in our signal script, which will then tell this GUI or this score UI to update the score. So to do that, let's start connecting this up. So one, we need a script for our score UI. So how I'm going to do that is I'm rather going to go over to this score scene, score UI scene, and then on rich text label we want to add a script, and we will go and add this under our scripts folder, script, and let's call this update score UI.gd and create that. And we're going to keep this as extends rich text label. I'm going to keep our ready function. I'm going to get rid of some of these things here, and let's connect up a signal. So signals.connect, and when we get the update score signal, we will call a method within the script, so self, and we'll just call that update score. And let's now just define a score, update score function, so update score, and then we'll allow it to have a score variable, and we'll just update self.text equals string of score. So score originally will be an integer or a numeric value, so let's convert it to a string by calling string, because this text requires a string to work. Alright, so we can now save that off, and now we need to actually trigger this. So this is going to happen when we actually reward the player, so that on our, most likely the logical place is to put it on our bone. So let's just play around with our bone behavior here. Or let's just think about this for a second. Maybe we want this to actually happen on our player because it's to do with the actual score. So actually, let's maybe rather put this on our player instead. So to do that, we're going to, every time we reward the player, we will then trigger this signal. So let's just say signals.emit signal, and we're going to emit this update score signal. And this is why we're doing it here, is because now we've got our score which we can pass in from our player to our UI. So save that off and let's hit play and see what this does. So we still have 0, and now hopefully we're going to touch this bone and it will update. So 1, and we die, and that's the end of it. So what I want to do now is I want to just remove this the state finite state machine that we added, because that's now affecting our gameplay. We want to actually control this with our keyboard. So what I'll do is in our player, we need to actually go and disconnect this signal over here. So actually what we want to do is go over into our player scene. So in players over here, and we've got this timer over here which is triggering our state machine. So I'm going to remove or disconnect this like so, and now we can play, and now it won't be controlled by the state machine. via the computer, so we'll just use our keyboard. So let's try that again. I'm very bad at this already, so let's see what we can do. So we can jump over this and not die. It's probably going to take a few tries for me, so let's see. Just want to get a bit more than one bone collected. It's one. Keep dying. Let's try again. So we'll create a restart GUI in a next tutorial. And maybe this is too difficult at the moment. Maybe what we need to do is change our spawner, and this is why it was quite useful to do it this way. We can now go and modify this spawner, so we could change the time it spawns to like 2.4 seconds, and it will spawn every 2.4 seconds, giving us a bigger gap, so we can balance our game any way we want just using this timer. So you see there's a bigger space between objects now, and I still managed to die, but let's try again. And I'm really terrible at this, so what I'm going to do to just stop wasting time here is I'm going to go over to the game, and I'm going to go over to spawner, and I'm just going to make sure I don't spawn any barrels. So I'm going to delete this and hit play so that we can just check that the score is updating if it's more than one bone picked up. So that's 1 and 2, and you see it's basically working our score. So in the next tutorial we're going to finish off with our restart game UI, and then after that we are going to just add some finishing touches like sound, and maybe if there's time in this tutorial series we'll actually look at training our player to actually play this game on its own. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please like below, and also comment if you have any questions, and I'll try and answer your questions. Once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.